welcome to another episode of the Keep Making Podcast. Today on the podcast, we've got Jake Thompson from Northside Custom Crafts. How you doing, Jake?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm super pumped that we're finally talking on the podcast. I know you and I have had lots of conversations via DM, some FaceTime calls, and just conversations in general since I started working with Polytech and with Alumilite specifically. And man, I can't say how much I appreciate your time. You've been nothing but a helpful, kind, and generous at every single stage of our interaction over the last, I'd say it's like a year and a half now that we've been kind of interacting online. So it's nice to have time for the podcast finally.
I'm super pumped to be on the podcast, and you get what you give. And you guys have done the same thing for me. So it's not hard to give it back.
Man, well, that means a ton. We're hoping that we're making that kind of impact, and it's always really awesome to hear it back. So what I'm really excited to do, though, is share your story with the Alumilite audience just in general. I know a fair amount of our followers know who you are based off of the value you provide on your YouTube channel. Oh, speaking of YouTube channel, congrats on 30,000, by the way. That's pretty exciting.
It's pretty cool.
But I'd love to find out how you actually got started, like originally with your shop, because I know the shop used to be something else and it has been slowly converted into what it is now. So I'd love the audience to hear about it if they've never heard that story. Let's start there.
Well, in my prior life, before I was making cars and doing race cars, and I was a professional mechanic and went to college for it and was pretty successful at it. And I had the shop built so I could do it in there, and I'm not a spring chicken anymore, so I wanted it insulated and I wanted lifts in there. So if you're not having fun doing something, why do it? Mm-hmm. So I had that all set up for that. I had back surgery. I hurt myself at work and had back surgery, and I still did the racing for a little while, but it was because I was expected to, because the family did it and the crowd I was in did it, and I was really done with it. It hurt my back to do it. It was, of course, I had to change careers because I can't be bent over a car all the time. So now I'm not making the money I used to make. So going racing, that's not cheap. Yeah. It's not for regular folks. So it was a transition. So I sold I started doing crafts at home. We started doing craft shows, but I was still racing. And then finally I said, man, I'm going to sell one of these lifts. And I kind of half committed to it, and things start picking up a little bit. And I started doing the YouTube videos. And then finally I could kind of see that if I'm riding the fence and you're on one side and the other side, you can't make traction. You can't get where you're going. Mm-hmm. So I sold the other lift. On one of the cement blocks where the lift was at, I put accept change and I clear coated over it. And it reminds me all the time to accept what the cards that are given to you and do the best you can with them. Don't hang on to that. It's just like toxic people in your life or a bad job or relationships or whatever. Get them out of there and accept whatever comes. One door closes, one door opens, all that kind of thing that you always hear. But it's true. I didn't really make any kind of traction until I committed, and I couldn't commit until I got rid of the car stuff, because I didn't want to do it. It hurts my back to do it. I mean, I find now I'm fully recovered now, but I'm done with it.
So you've accepted the change fully at this stage.
Accept it. Now I'm not that guy anymore, and I still visit some of my car buddies, and I do Make-A-Wish every year, and all the car guys are there, and we have a big, and it's cool. So I get to interact, probably not this year, but every year that has been available to do it, we've done it. And I always make something and give the money to charity and all that. So then I got rid of that stuff, made that into a wood shop, sold the race car. So I was able to buy a few tools and stuff. And but I was working on my videos too. Just video making and editing is a whole nother kind of making.
Oh, that's a learning curve in of its own self with the videos.
Yeah, it's almost harder than to tell a story and have it interesting enough for you to want to watch the whole thing. That's hard. And so I started doing that, and then I'm wearing Heath Knuckles shirt today.
Hey, Heath Knuckles. He's great.
Heath Knuckles, he is awesome. And Jamie Page is a buddy of mine. He's on the Makers International podcast, and he does turning and stuff. And he knows, he's like the hub of the community. And he hooked me up with Heath on a hangout. And there's several questions I had, just like people ask me now. What about stabilizing? How's this? And what temperatures and all of this stuff. And he answered everything, and we're cool. And we're friends now.
That's awesome.
And then I just started doing it, and somebody gave me, a guy from in town that watches my videos gave me a lathe. I was trying not to buy a lathe because I knew I would be rat holed I knew I would be sunk. I wouldn't be doing anything else. I knew I would be doing that. And the guy called me, "Hey, I got a lathe at auction. You want it?" Yeah.
I'll take it.
So I traded some dust collection stuff or whatever. And next thing you know, I have a lathe and I'm turning and I'm doing resin. And then, so I'm soaking up all these videos. And then
So how many years ago is this now? Like not that long, 5 years, 3 years?
I started YouTube in 5 years. I've been on YouTube for 5 years, but I've only been doing resin for a couple of them.
Okay.
Two and a half.
Okay.
And it's all on my channel. And the first thing I did was a big Hulk. It was like a gallon and it luckily I knew enough to not I put some stabilized pen blanks underneath it that I bought off eBay because I wasn't stabilizing yet. And I did the things that I learned off of Zach Higgins' channel, and all the things like heat it up and make sure, and how to how to sand it and polish it was all from Heath and Zach and Casey Martin and Pam Harris and all of those people. And I just did it. And then
dropping all the great names, all the staples, staples out there.
They're there to teach you. And then in turn, throughout the last 100 videos I've done, then I've become one of them somehow. And not even trying to, I get comments all the time. Thanks for teaching this. And so I've become a teacher. So you find your niche. Like people ask me, I need something to do at the beginning of my videos or whatever. Well, you can't invent that yourself. It has to come natural. Just like the hat tip was an accident. And so now I got to do it every time. And now the niche is I'm teaching people, I'm learning how to do this stuff, and I'm teaching as I go along, and people seem to be enjoying it pretty good.
Absolutely. I mean, I love sharing. I watch all your videos. Since about 6 months ago, I'd say, is like I've been pretty consistent. Any video that you put out, especially shop updates. Shop updates might be my favorite because I get a little recap of everything that's going on, and then what's coming in the future too. So for those of you that are listening or watching, you definitely need to follow Jake Thompson on YouTube because it's really wonderful stuff, and you'll definitely learn plenty. So you started obviously in like the turning, 5 years ago, it's probably more like woodworking and crafting just in general, right?
Yeah, I was buying plywood and cutting out crosses or just squares or whatever, and we was painting them and would make them into key racks or whatever. It was super simple crafts, like really, really like first grade art class crafts. Okay. And then it turned into well, I don't want to stand at the bandsaw for 6 hours making this stuff every day. So I got a CNC machine. So then right about the time I got the CNC machine, we stopped doing craft shows. So I didn't have to. So I was doing I did some 3D stuff, and I did some instructional videos, and that's fun. And then once I got the lathe, and I already wanted to do the resin, and then I got the lathe. So that was two niches at once. And and I still do woodworking and stuff, and I've done I'm working on my second table.
You've done a couple big river tables and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. And I don't want them to be normal or just, I always have to put something weird on it. I don't know, this one's going to be like a yin and yang face table. And on your guys' last coupon codes, I bought some molding putty and some Sculpey, and I'm going to make eyeballs.
Heck yeah.
Silicone molds for the eyeballs, and then put glow in the dark eyes. And I'm going to carve the teeth where they look like teeth and have glow in the dark teeth in it. And so it's going to be
cool.
It's like strips of walnut and strips of cherry, and they're going to be exactly opposite facing each other. So it'll be a yin and yang table is what I'm going to call it. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, that's very cool. So are you working on that right now?
It's I just got the stuff from from the Christmas order.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say we got buried a little bit from all the way from Black Friday through December. A little bit got buried, and we also, I mean, don't totally honest, we got hit with COVID in our shipping department, so we were understaffed like crazy.
Hey,
So, and that's just how the world is right now. So, of course, after we have wonderful sales and everyone's really excited, then we're like, we promise we are doing our best to get the product out.
I'm sure most everybody is pretty understanding about it.
Yeah.
And if I'm just like, I ordered it, but I'm waiting on a router I got a router sled and I'm waiting on a router for a month now, and I'm not really upset about it. Yeah. It is what it is.
It is what it is at this stage in the game. I think everybody should be pretty understanding. I know everyone's trying their best. So, you've obviously progressed though, because you've gotten pretty heavily into silicones recently. A lot of your videos, you're really showing off the Plat 25, the quick set. You've used, I think, something else too. You've used some smooth on product in the past too. You've really gotten into silicone. So when did you start being like, ooh, hey, I actually want to like go this route too?
Before I went to Maker Central last year, I had somebody want me to make them something with, I did the football project with the terrible towel embedded in the football with the hand up.
Yep.
So I didn't do that yet, but I went to Maker Central and they were doing the hands in the alginate with the plaster. So I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. But I wonder if I pour resin right into that, if it'll work and if the moisture will mess with it or whatever. So I did a video on that, just messing around, and that actually people kind of liked it because it was a total fail.
Oh, really?
People liked it. I was like, I think it's not going to do well because of the moisture, and this is my thought process. But if I can get it closed, then cool. So then I ended up finding out I needed to make a plaster mold and then make a silicone mold of that, and then now you have pretty castings instead of cloudy, and they got growth on it. It's like pretty weird when you just do it right in the alginate. So that's what did it. And I did the smooth on. I had the smooth on stuff because it was fast setting, and it says that you don't need to vacuum degas it. And I'm just like everybody else. If I can skip a step,
right, save some time. Let's go ahead and do it.
Yeah. So it's not the best for it. It was a little rigid, and it's kind of rough. So now I know the value of degassing silicone, and I got the quick set from you guys because the same thing, because I want people to know that you can use silicone without having to get a vacuum,
all the tools that come along with the vacuum chambers. Yeah.
And so I don't want people saying, well, I could do that if I had all those tools, and I could do that. And I'm like, well, if you're that kind of person that has that attitude, then you're probably not going to make stuff anyway. You're going to find that there's different mentalities of people. There's people that figure out how to do it, and there's people that figure out how not to do it. And
that's a nice little nugget right there. That moment right there is very true. And I fully agree. We get questions all the time, and we can tell the difference between people that are curious and like genuinely seeking, or they're looking for an excuse, like you said, to not do it.
Yeah. That's with anything.
Literally anything in life.
I'm being very, very, very nice by saying it that way.
There's a thing behind the thing, and you are communicating it clearly. So what's your favorite thing that you've done with the silicone specifically, and then what's your least favorite thing that you've done recently when it comes to that world? Because it's obviously like it's trial and error. Like it is a learning curve, just probably like the first time you turned on the lathe. So help me understand your journey in those two regards.
The hands I was doing was I have a ton of hands, and actually now when I send somebody something, I send them my hand I have left over, and they get it and they're like, what? So it's fun, but it's one of those, the hands were they're easy and they're fun to do. My favorite one I did was the fake burl, because it is intricate and there's so many spikes on it, and I sent the one that looked the best to you guys. And so now my least favorite one was the burl, because I did it with the deep pour stuff, and I didn't know. I mean, I'm not using a pressure pot because I want to show people that you don't have to use a pressure pot. But when you do that, you pour it in there, all those little spiky bits at the end are at the bottom, and all the air gets collected down there.
Right.
I really
There's no
didn't.
where for the air to go.
Yeah, well, the resin can't get in it can't get in that small of a space. And so I didn't realize that the first time, and I even called you guys and I'm like, hey, this is the most horrible thing I've ever done. And it's deep pour, so you think I just did it all the way to the top, and then I did several things different the next time. I poured smaller pours and I spaced them out, but I also noticed when I did that first smaller pour that I had a ton of bubbles down there, and I had picks and I was trying to get the bubbles out. It was just it was not going to happen. So I immediately knew that it was the mold's fault for the bubbles, not the epoxy. So I just used a pressure pot, and I kind of explained in the video. I used a pressure pot because I've already ruined one. I'm not going to waste another one. And it turned out pretty fantastic. But if I would have known, if I would just looked harder the first time, I wouldn't have had to waste the whole mold. And that's a lot of resin in that mold.
Yes. Yeah. Especially the one, I mean, they're not small. So like, I mean, I remember that. Yeah. I've seen the video. I mean, like it's a good amount of epoxy in that mold. So
I'll go ahead and tell you on here that I wasn't just doing that for fun. That's actually going somewhere. I'm going to make 2 of those, and there'll be whatever color, probably red and yellow, and it'll look like fire. And then I have some dragon figurines. So I'm going to make one and then drill a hole in it and put the dragon in it. And then the other one's going to be like the roof of it, so it look like stalactites and stalagmites going around. And then I'm going to make a huge dragon egg, and it'll be a giveaway thing.
That's very cool. Yeah, because that'll be large.
I won't name the video giveaway whatever. That stuff doesn't work, so it'll be Texas size dragon egg or the biggest dragon egg ever or something like that. But it'll be a giveaway thing, and I'm gonna make a nest for it and everything else.
That's good. Like, it's so YouTube in the best way. I love that kind of stuff where they're like all right, someone has set a tone in a certain category, and then someone comes in and is like, all right, I'm gonna take that to like all the way that I possibly can. I love that stuff. So that's
I still have some things to figure out on it, but it's happening.
Very cool. Very cool. So you obviously talked a little bit about the fails that you've experienced when it comes to the process. What you probably get this question every day, but it's something that I ask on every podcast because everyone answers it slightly differently. What do you tell people as they're first starting off and they're experiencing failure because they're new to this, whether it's wood turning or resin or hybrid blanks or whatever? What is the thing that you go to regularly to encourage people or to like just be straightforward with them?
I messed up. And you diagnose what the problem was, or you figure it out, or you guys tell me, or Zach tells me, or whatever. And I just say, hey, I did it. It cost me some materials. So most people, this stuff is not very cheap. So a lot of times hitting you in the wallet will make you remember what you did wrong. So for instance, they're not gonna be able to see this on the podcast, but I have my biggest fail right here, and it's the Wolverine project. And if you can see, he has a big air thing coming out of his face. I didn't know.
Is he sitting on a toilet?
Yes.
He's sitting on a toilet. I couldn't fully tell when you showed me the top part, but that is hilarious.
I did this twice. This is 4,000 grams of resin, and I messed it up twice because the first time, and this is where you learn, there's several lessons on it. The first time I just had one big bucket and I put part A in there and I put part B in there, and the scale went out of limits.
Oh no.
So now where do you go? Like, how do you know what you don't put it equal because that's wrong.
Right.
You know, I kind of know where part A was, but now I'm lost. So the first one I go, well, maybe I just mixed it too heavy on the hot side and it wanted to crack. So I ordered, and now I don't have enough. You don't have enough in a 2-gallon thing to make another one. So I had to order another one.
Oh,
another set. I had to order another figurine. I had to order another more
right.
aluminum honeycomb. I had all that stuff. So I did that, and then the next time I did it again, and I put it in there, and like three hours later, I take out the pressure pot, and I could watch it come out of his face.
Really?
I can watch that crack grow.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh, so I tried to put it back in the pressure pot. I think it's this one. I tried to drill and put stuff in it. I was trying to save it because that's so
right.
now I'm out a ton of money, and I
Mhm.
got to go to and Al from Al's Hack Shack played Wolverine for me in the video, and he's already sent me his part of the video, so I have to do this. I'm committed. So the next one, I drilled a hole in his back, and he's totally hollow. And I didn't know it. It's
You
such
just
a
didn't know.
hard, I didn't know. So I cut a hole in the back. I filled it with 5-minute epoxy, let it dry, and I painted it white like a shirt. And you can't even tell on the
That's
one that.
amazing.
And so I'm not mad about it because
Mhm.
now when I weigh out stuff, if it's going to be big, I'm going to make sure to do it in 2 separate containers and then mix it in, because I don't want the scale going out. And I'm going to make sure the pieces that I do are not hollow, even if I have to cut them open and find out myself and not just assume. So there's several lessons in this that I had to learn them.
Mhm.
It hit me in the wallet pretty good, but at
Mhm.
the end result was the project turned out fantastic. I took it to England to Maker Central, and we went to Al's house where he filmed the intro and gave it to him there. So it was a super, super cool thing to be able to do. And I had to, it was one of those, you
You
better
had to get
figure
it
it
done.
out.
Yeah, you
You
got to
better
figure
figure
this
it
out no
out.
matter what.
And I can't afford a third wrong one. So you
That's a
better
lot
get it
of money
right.
at that point. That's a good chunk
Yeah.
of change. You get
Yeah.
out $500 at that point. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It was, and the Wolverine figure comes with a motorcycle and different hands. And so it's like not a cheap figurine. I had to buy that 3 times. so, so it was,
so you fully know what that's like, and then someone might be like getting upset about like a pen blank, and you're
yeah,
like, dude, like that's like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
nothing to get worried about.
yeah, chop it up and put it in another pin blank. Like it's okay. We
Mhm.
all, first started woodworking, the guy Sumo's projects from Australia, he's like, one of his things was, if you mess up a piece of wood, you go get another piece of wood. So I mean, it's not the end of the world. You're not breaking your leg. You still got your fingers and toes. It's all, you might have to wait till you get paid again, or sell something and buy more materials, but
Mhm.
you didn't die. It's
Mhm.
okay. Yeah.
Yep. That makes a ton of sense. So Maker Central, it's something that I don't get to really talk about. So we were going to be going last fall, I think is when it was. Obviously, it didn't happen because of what happened. Or no, this was beginning of 2020 because it's like
Right.
February or March when it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Getting my dates all messed up in my head. This is going to be the first time the Alumilite was going to be there, but we weren't able to go. And I was excited because I think we were talking about, hey, we'll hang out, we'll meet. It'll be in Europe. It'll be fun. So it sounds like that's a wonderful place that you've connected with a ton of different people over time. Um, can you talk a little bit more about all the makers that have influenced you? And do you want to give any special shout outs of like currently the people that like you're working with, or like you plan on some collaborations with? Because I'd love people to know more people out there that they can learn from, just like yourself.
Um, as far as the resin casting stuff, Jared Pallone, we're going to do a collaboration. He does Star Treks. I don't even like, I don't care about Star Trek, just throw it out there. Probably lose some followers or whatever, but I'm, uh,
Star Wars.
Star Trek, Star Wars, all of that stuff. Now the story is this,
I just like how you're even doing it. Like,
I don't even care. I don't even
right.
care. So like when me and my brothers would come home from school, we do our homework, and then wrestling would be on. So my mom would come in and change it to Star Trek. So you had a choice. You either watch Star Trek or go to bed. So long story short, I hate Star Trek.
So anything that reminds you of that, you're like, nope.
Yeah. But the thing that caught my eye about Jared is his pieces are highly detailed, and they're fantastic, and they're polished to a mirror, and the whatever's in it doesn't matter. I know how much work it takes to do it. So that as far as right now goes, and there's a lot of other ones, Wacky Woodworks, He does the bowl turning and stuff like that, and he's cool. But as far as makers that influence me, that that are helping me with my mindset to go forward, I met all kinds of people there. One of the people I really like and I was a fan of from the first time I turned on YouTube was Get Hands Dirty, Christiana. She's awesome, and I got a conversation with her and Jimmy DiResta, and there's all of them, and no one was really underwhelming, but one person knocked my socks off and changed my whole mindset to maybe I can do this, to I'm going to do this. And that was Laura Comp.
Really?
Yes. She is an outstanding human being. I mean, she's just, people are walking around and I'm like, I went there to meet people I look up to, and some people were there to meet me, and it was pretty cool. And when somebody's walking around and they have a purpose where they're going, so I don't want to interrupt them, and you don't know if
you could tell when someone's on the track.
Yeah. So finally I just told and I was at the Easywood booth, and I saw her come, and I said, well, if she turns this way, I'm gonna talk to her this time. So she turned that way, and we made eye contact, and she came to me. Really? Shook my hand and talked to me, and I showed her the Wolverine thing, and she was like, that's cool. And so we started talking about things, and it was like she was put there to tell me what I needed to hear for my self-confidence and me moving forward.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. She's one of the things that I'll never, I probably heard it before, but when someone's looking you in the eye and they've done it, and she said, don't dress for the job you want, or don't dress for the job you have, dress for the job you want. And that basically told me, just do it. Don't want to be a content creator, create content and be that person, or I'm going to quit this job and I'm going to do this because I deserve to do it. And I'm that guy. And before I literally got goosebumps. Yeah. So before I talked to her, it was, do I belong in this crowd? And am I doing, and can I do it? Or am I good enough? Or do I have the personality for this? Or it's hard to talk on camera. All these self-doubt things you have about yourself. A 15-minute conversation with Laura Comp erased it all.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. I have to share this. So like, there's definitely, I have similar stories, like in different points in my life where like, obviously I'm in marketing and content creation. I was a producer for 5 years and at an agency. I loved it. I love storytelling, still do to this day. I love making commercials. I love everything from documentaries to movies, the whole bit. But there was always something that was missing, and it was my own voice in regards to like actually contributing to those things as a whole. And I knew that I could like have an effect if I started to lead a team, or if I started to like actually take it on myself. But I like never fully was like, hey, no, I'm the one that's on the hook. I just I didn't know what to do. Well, life has a way of like, if you have something that you want to do, but you're not necessarily fully like committing to it, life will be like, hey, by the way, boom, like you have a moment you can decide now. Because the previous job, there was a bunch of projects that did not go well, and the company was a wonderful company, loved those people, but they were like, hey, all the full-time people, we're gonna have to go back to contract. And I was like, I had 2 kids, a mortgage, and like I was like, no, like I cannot do that. And I had a moment in time of like, are you gonna get on the hook or not? And my wife said something that really lit a fire underneath my butt. She's like, listen, like you have a week, because we have to know what we're doing, because she had just come off maternity leave and she was just starting her job. Like we were like going to come, like we didn't have a long runway. And luckily this job came around, and like I had one phone interview with my current boss, and he knew what I wanted to do, and it like lined up perfectly with what I wanted at that stage of life. He was like, do you want to help people make stuff? Do you want to make videos on YouTube and lead a content creation team? I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I was like, is this a real job? Like, yes, 1,000 times over. Yes. It was like serendipitous. So I appreciate you sharing it. And I was like, should I share mine? Yes, I'm gonna share mine. Yeah. No, it was really cool. That's really cool. So, all right, let me keep going with the questions. And then obviously I do want to leave time for you to be able to ask questions. We got about 10 minutes left. But before we go there, the thing that you're looking forward to the most outside of what you just said, which is like, I'm going to fully commit to doing this and only this, because like that you're planting some seeds, if people weren't listening, of what you're planning on doing in the future. But like outside of that, what are you most excited to be working on right now? And you by the way, for those that don't know, Jake does not do this full time. He does this after hours and hours and hours of working a full-time gig, like more than a full-time gig. So kudos for you for even still putting out content. Do you sleep ever?
I'm tired. I'm tired a lot. I'm tired. Well, I went back on this last video. It said Merry Christmas, and I kind of went over the numbers, and I went and I counted the videos that I did, and I was like, how did I do 41 videos last year?
I don't know how you did that. I genuinely don't know.
I don't know, but it's because I like the interaction. I like to, even if it's a shop update, which that little Merry Christmas thing is what I needed at the time. People telling me that they enjoy me on their TV, and they enjoy learning from me, and they wouldn't have been turning unless it was my videos and stuff like that. That's so rewarding. Cool. What I'm looking forward to most is there's several things. I can have my own. I'm going to make my own. I'm going to be harder on me than any boss has ever been hard on me. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I'm looking to not do work, but I want to schedule myself. Mondays I'm going to do this, and Tuesdays I'm going to do this, and this time, and I'm going to be done at this time, and I'm going to start at this time, and then I can dedicate time to. I can take classes on how to video edit better and making thumbnails better and learning things myself, and then I can teach those things. It's a never-ending learning process. But if I only have 4 days off a month, I don't have time to learn. I mean, I could teach the things that I've learned already, and I can make another video on it or whatever, but I want to learn the next thing. And that's the exciting part, is I'm going to learn the next thing, and I'm going to be able to teach the next thing, and I'm going to get somebody else's eyeballs on my channel that's going to learn and be able to make cool stuff because I taught them how to do it.
That's so cool. So it sounds like you're really just excited for the next stage of learning and growth at where you're currently at. Yeah, you did say some of that in the Christmas video, which if you haven't watched that video, go watch that video. The shop updates are wonderful. I could tell that you were really excited to share, but also you were proud of the growth that happened. And you could see the surprise on your face of like, what? Like every time you look down at your card, I could tell that you're just like, how did this even happen?
Like during the pandemic, where my numbers went down because of the, and that's all YouTube nerdy stuff that we don't want to get into, but COVID affected everything, like everything. So to have those numbers with COVID going on and more than a full-time job, and I was pretty excited to see what me and my audience did the year.
I couldn't agree more. All right, so obviously I give a chance every podcast or live that we do you can ask me a question, or you can ask Alumilite a question, and I'm as honest as I can be, as long as it's not something that we're not allowed to share yet, like product launches or that kind of thing. But I can mention things that we're working on. Super curious if you got a question for me, and then we'll wrap this sucker up.
I have two.
Okay.
First, about how many on a daily average do you have you're tagged in an Instagram post?
Oh wow, that is great. Like for Alumilite.
Alumilite.
Yes. Let me see. I'm literally pulling up Instagram right now. When I first started, so when I took over the Instagram in August of 2019, it was maybe like 4 to 6 times a day, maybe. Yeah. I'm scrolling through yesterday's.
And 2 of those were me.
Yep. I mean, right now it's 40 to 50 at least. Yeah. I mean, it's starting to climb pretty significantly.
The second part of the question is, out of those, when you look through them, because I'm sure you look at each and every one of them, if there's one that makes you want to reach out to them to either tell them, hey, good job, or become an affiliate, or just start a dialogue with them, what is it about their content that makes you want to do that?
It's a great question. So we have and I'll share this. I'm all right saying this. Like, we have a really hardcore philosophy of like, if someone is tagging us or if someone is commenting or interacting with us, we will respond. Period. Doesn't matter if you have 1 follower. Doesn't matter if you have 1 million followers. You're a person, and if you're interacting with our brand, you matter. Period. So that's the philosophy that we approach with any of our social media. And are we perfect at it? And have we missed a few in there? Like, yeah, we're human. Like that does happen. But that is not our goal. Is like literally every single tag or comment we want to respond to. So the things that excite us are typically things that we have not seen done with our product. That is just like, because there's a lot of specific applications that people do with certain products. Obviously people do river tables, but what gets us excited is when someone puts a twist on a river table, or if they do a really interesting colorway, or they embed things in the river tables, or tumblers, for instance. There's a lot of people that make tumblers out there, but there's still people that are like figuring out ways of like bringing something new to it, or like designing a new cover on it, or like new patterns and new techniques. So we're like, well, like we still get blown away on occasion, even if it's something that you've seen a whole bunch of. You're like, I've never seen that before. So novelty is a big one, but then we tend to also share people that are like super consistent in their craft. So if you were like a niche, like Scott Wishart or like Jared Malone, like you were just mentioning, they're really good. Like Scott's really good at the sphere. Jared's really like, he's been doing the cubes, and like he's really good at it. And then I think about like Derry Woodworking, for instance, in Canada. He's like putting like the different like angles and like embedding things in it. Like he's adding like different layers and complications. Those are just like some of the examples, but like we all freaked out when we discovered that people made dice with our products. We just didn't know that was a thing. So anytime that happens, we're like, oh my goodness, this is exciting. We didn't know that this was happening. And then of course we find the rabbit hole. Same thing with custom keycaps. We didn't know people could do that. We had ideas and we had instincts because we know it's possible. Literally anything with our products. But once you see it and then you're like, wait, can we try it? Or someone out there already doing it. So that's the stuff that excites us.
Good answer, Caton.
Yeah, cool. I get really long-winded. I always forget. Like I just like
Because people, somebody just starting this, or they've been doing it a while, and it's really hard to get somebody to notice you. Either you're relying on an algorithm, or you need help to get eyeballs on your stuff. So people are like, how'd you get, I get asked, how'd you get that? I'm like, message them. Have fun doing what you're doing and message them. And it's not necessarily just your company, but it's just in general, you can get noticed if you want to get noticed.
Yeah. I mean, and you're dead on the money. The truth is, like, we want to help people. I say this every podcast. I say this I'm probably a broken record. It is the absolute truth, though. We want to help people make what they want to make. Now, and we're also quite blunt. Like if all you're trying to do is just get eyeballs and you're not trying to provide value, we're like, sorry, like, because like you can smell it. Everybody can smell it. We back that up every single day. Whenever I say that, I was like, my entire team and the entire company backs that up. Like customer service, even shipping, even when we're struggling, everybody, the product developers, everybody wants to help people make what they want to make. It's not like, obviously we all benefit from this and we love the job, but our mission, I mean, we'll even tell people to use other companies' products if we're not the right fit. Like if what they're trying to do, we don't have the solution, we will be like, use this.
I knew that you guys were all right when I ran out of the quick set silicone. And I messaged you. I was like, man, I ran out, so it's going to be like I have to order some more or whatever. And you go, use it. And I said, I have some other stuff, but I don't want to use it on a. And you said, do it. And I was like, that's pretty cool, because I don't have that pressure. I don't have that pressure going, I got to use all the Alumilite stuff, or they're going to get mad at me. Like that's not a way to work. That's not a way to work with each other, and it's appreciated.
Yeah, and we do mean it, and I'm sure that at some point. Some will need to get more stringent about affiliates or something like that. I don't know, but at the same time, if it doesn't hurt us, if you're not like being like, screw Alumilite or whatever,
Right.
then we're cool. Like we're gonna be fine. But yeah, cool. All right. Any other things that you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap this up? And before you go, I do want to say this. I really appreciate you, Jake. I wish the entire team of Alumilite and myself especially wish nothing but success for you. We're rooting for you, and we're really impressed by the amount of work that you've put out in 2020. And we hope nothing but the same in 2021 for you, even more. Hopefully you find a little bit more time to not work so much, and you can come work on things that you want to work on. But yeah, man, we're big fans of you. We're big fans.
But totally appreciate it, and I knew it before you said that. So that tells you a lot. So I get asked all the time, how do you start a YouTube channel? Or how do you start this? Or how do you do this? And my quick answer to anybody out there that hasn't started doing something yet is do it. So people on YouTube, like I want to start a YouTube channel, but I'm going to wait till I get this camera and these lights and this stuff. And I got to learn how to edit. And so
you got a phone,
get your phone,
mm-hmm.
Make a video, hit download, and now you've learned that first step on doing YouTube. And then you can figure out how to keyword and all the nerdy YouTube stuff. But the first step is to put a video out. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if it's gardening or making a sphere or building a shop or whatever. It doesn't matter. Mowing your yard. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But do it. Mm-hmm. Don't wait for the perfect storm to come, because it's not going to come. And 2 years from now, you're going to be like, I wish I would have started that YouTube channel I wanted, even if it's just to document your growth on whatever you're doing and you don't care about an audience. It's a good place to document what you're doing or whatever. But the point is, you don't start until you start.
Right.
That's my advice on anything is don't be afraid to fail. You're gonna fail. We talked about it here. I fail all the time, and then you get better because you figure out how to fix your failure. But the point is, I'm going to go out there right now and turn some deep pour stuff that I casted a couple months ago and polish it, and I'm going to show people that. And if I mess it up, I mess it up.
Right.
We'll all be okay.
Yep. Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. Gary Vaynerchuk always mentions like document, don't create. The reason why he says that to people is because they're scared of the idea of creating. If you're just documenting, you can lower the barrier of entry. Just like just like you're saying, just start. You will figure it out as you go.
And the other thing, and then I'll stop, is if you have an idea in your head, then let it out. Like, go ahead and do it. I got Wolverine sitting next to me on a toilet, and everybody loves it.
Yeah, and it's pretty great. I didn't notice that one until you turned. I was like, wait a minute, Wolverine's on a toilet.
Yeah, and in my head, I'm like, man, maybe I might run some people off, toilet humor or whatever, but I just do it. Mm-hmm. Some people, and you learn that no matter what you do, you're going to have some people troll you or whatever, and that's just part of the fun, actually. But you have something in your head, maybe no one's done it, maybe somebody can get an idea off of that and they can do something cool. So if you have something in your head that you might be embarrassed to let out of your head, within reason, let it out.
Yep. Couldn't agree with you more. All right, Jake, this has been a lot of fun. Again, I really appreciate you. Everybody that if you're interested in supporting Jake, he links his affiliate link in all of his YouTube videos and on Instagram, in his link tree and all that. What's your code? Because this is going to come out on a Maker Monday where we're talking about you. So what's your code so that people can use it to purchase?
It's Jake 10.
Jake 10. Super
easy. Yeah, super easy.
Not hard to remember. Yeah. So use the code at checkout, and it's a really simple way if you want to support Jake as he continues on his journey of creating stuff. So cool. All right, man. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you having me on.